Well, don't look like there's gonna be any fishing today. At all. Tucker, what are you doing? Come here. Get in the house. Let's go. Let's go.
Well, as you can probably tell, there's not going to be any fishing for me today. It's 3 degrees and very snowy, so wow, and windy. So how about we talk about the rig I used the other day, my previous video, the drop shot. Let's go back inside where it's warm.
Tucker, what are you doing, buddy? Sit. You gonna help me? You gonna help me do a video? You gonna help Daddy do a video? Are you? You a good puppy? Yeah, say most of the time. Alright, let's get her a video.
Alright, I have moved back inside where it's a little bit warmer. And like I said, it's like 3 degrees outside and it's very cold, so there's not going to be any fishing for a while. I'm pretty sure most of the ponds are now frozen over around here. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the technique I used the other day in my last video. And before I get into that, I want to apologize. I know the audio was absolutely terrible, but I'm literally learning this as I go. And right now I'm fishing. I'm filming all these videos on the iPad that you're watching this part on right now, and my phone. I have plans in the future to buy some GoPro style cameras and maybe a vlogging camera, so please bear with me as I work through these little technical difficulties. Now, getting into this, as I've said in my previous videos, you know, I'm married, I work full time, got kids, mortgage payments, car payments, so I don't have a lot of money to spend on high dollar equipment. Would I like to? Yeah, who wouldn't? So I tend to stick to the lower end side of these combos and rods and reels and what have you. Now I've got a couple of higher end casting reels, not really higher end, but a little higher level than, anyway. I want to fish these on a spinning setup, as anybody should when you're fishing a finesse technique. It's a lot easier to work with than trying to fish this stuff, these little lightweights and rigs on a casting reel. Again, I'm fishing this on an Abu Garcia Vengeance spinning rod. This is 7 foot. I think you can get these in 7 foot, 7.6 maybe. I've seen guys fish them all the way up to like a 7.11. This is a medium heavy fast action rod, and this was a combo. I think I picked this up at Dick's for around 80 bucks. This one has the Ultramax reel, 7 ball bearing, 5:1:1 gear ratio. And I'm fishing this on, I think this is 12-pound Berkley Vanish fluorocarbon. As I said in one of my previous, I think it was my Ned Rigger video, you know, the Berkley Vanish fluorocarbon, very good line. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise, just because you can buy it at Walmart don't mean it ain't no good. I've said that before. And you know, and a lot of guys may tell you that to fish this on, I've seen, and it depends, you know, some guys are going to tell you to fish this on 6-pound line, 8-pound line. You know, to me, I've not found any situations yet where I really need to go that fine on the line. I mean, maybe up north in the Great Lakes where the water's really, really clear and you're fishing for smallmouth and they're highly pressured, yeah, that might be the case. But, you know, around here, the areas that I fish, a lot of times there's a lot of structure and grass in the water, so I want to use a little bit heavier line, you know, just for that sake of knowing that it's not just going to snap off whenever you get kind of brush up against something or set the hook on a bigger fish. That's another thing. I've not caught any giant fish on these or on this setup. I think the biggest fish I've caught on throwing a drop shot was when I fished a regional back in September through USA Bassing on Cave Run Lake. I caught the fish weighed almost 3 pounds on a drop shot. As I said in my video the other day, the way I had this rigged up is I had this nose hooked with a Zoom fluke. This is the Arkansas Shiner color. I don't know if you can see that. I like to throw this bait quite a bit. It works really well for different scenarios. The flukes have been around for a long time. They're fairly cheap, but they work real well. Now, when I throw these, you know, you'll hear a lot of people say your leader can be anywhere 12 to, I've seen guys throw 3-foot leader. It really depends on the situation, where the fish are at, if they're suspended up off the bottom, if they're on the bottom, vice versa. That's just something you have to kind of figure out on your own. And it also depends on the structure in the water, or the grass, or rocks, or what have you. Now, if you're fishing from the bank, you don't have a fish finder, you just have to kind of play with it and see what works, and you may have to lengthen or shorten your leader. And then as you get more and more bites, then you can kind of, you know, finesse it from there. Now, let's talk about some of the hooks that we use. All right, let's talk about some of the hooks that we can use for drop shotting. Anytime you've got open, clear water and there's not a lot of debris and structure in it, the best way to rig your drop shot is with a smaller number 2 hook. As I said, this is the Gamakatsu. I think it's a size 2 hook. And these, I really like these. These really hold on to your bait well. These are the Trapper Tackle drop shot hooks. As you can see, they got this unique bend in them for your keeper. This works really well, like with the Zoom flukes and finesse worms. Now, depending on how you're fishing these, if you're fishing these over heavy grass and a lot of structure, you can also Texas rig your drop shots. This is I like to use like a 1/0 to 2/0, depending on the size of bait that I'm using. This is a VMC 1/0, and I believe this is a Gamakatsu 1/0. Like I said, depending on the situation, if it's open water, I always want to try to use the number 2 hooks, nose hooking your bait. If you've got a lot of structure, grass, whatever in the water, I like to use the Texas rig style. And then when it comes to weights, I know tungsten is a big thing now, but like I said, I am on a budget. I don't have a lot of money to go spend on tungsten. Yeah, it's a little bit more sensitive, but in cases like this, where you're throwing a drop shot, you're really not relying on the sensitivity of this weight on the bottom. This is literally just to help you get your bait down in the water. And the 2 main sizes I use is a 1/4 ounce and a 3/16 ounce. And as you can see, these are just your traditional teardrop lead style weights. And the key about these is you want to have them swivel. And most of your new drop shot weights, whether they're lead or tungsten, they do swivel. The key to that is it helps keep your bait from twisting and winding on your line. So it's very key. You always want to have that swivel. Okay? Now, going back to the baits I use, 2 main baits I use are the Zoom flukes. This one's in the Smoking Shad, and like I said, the Arkansas Shiner. These 2 colors generally work the best for me. I've caught more fish on these than I have anything else. Yeah, sometimes you might change it up if you're fishing for smallmouth or spotted bass or something. You might want to change it up, go to a brighter color, like I think they have the bubble gum and the pink. I've got some of those. Another good little bait to use. These are made by Lucky Strike. These have been around forever. I can remember these when I was a kid. These are the Bass Magic Shaky Heads. Yeah, they're kind of, some of the packaging's kind of gimmicky looking. I know, but they work. I've kind of fished these in clear water. They seem to work pretty well. And then, of course, the Zoom finesse worms. I've got them in Watermelon Magic and Watermelon Red Flake. Clear water in the summertime, this Watermelon Red Flake works very well. Early spring, when fish are really starting to pre-spawn, chase up, if I can't get them on, you know, traditional style baits, I may throw this electric shad color. Okay. All right, let's talk about how we rig these up real quick. We're going to start with the number 2 hooks and nose hooking. Where I'm going to show you real quick how to tie these up. Now, of course, I'm just using, for this, I'm just going to use a 12-pound line here just to kind of show you guys how to do this. And for visual sake, I'm going to use the bigger trapper style hook. Okay? Now, when you tie these up, first thing you want to do is run your line through the eye of your hook. You pull it out. Then you want to run it, once you get your line through the eye, you want to run it back through the eye until you have a loop on the end. Can you see that loop? Can you see that? All right. Then you want to tie just an overhand knot. You see that? Back through itself with both strands of line. And before you cinch that down, you want to put the hook back through the loop. All right? And then you want to wet it. And then you want to slowly pull it out. And cinch it down. Now this is just for display purposes. When you tie these, when you make that tag end, you can make it as long as you want to. I'm just doing this for a visual purpose. But after you tie that and you cinch that down, here's your main line. You want to take your tag end and run it back down through the eye of that hook. Okay? And what that will do is that when you tighten that up, you have your weight down there on the bottom. That will allow that hook, can you see that? To stand out on that line, kind of straight out to the side. Can you see that? Okay. Then you want to tie your weight on. You can tie this weight on however you want to. It don't really matter. I mean, I usually, like I said, for most general situations, I just tie a Palomar knot. Or, like I said, you can just tie an overhand knot. It don't really matter. And really what you want, like I said, this is just for visual purposes. What you generally want is if this weight gets snagged up or hung up on the bottom, instead of losing the whole rig, this should break off. So I would probably recommend tying just a overhand knot when you tie your weight on. You know, just something to hold it on there. And then, like I said, you know, if you get it snagged up, the weight it'll come off with the weight rather than breaking off and losing your whole rig. Okay? And that's about what it should look like. And then you'll take your bait in this situation and you'll nose hook it. And like I said, these trapper tackle hooks are very good. That little bend in that really holds your bait well, like that. And nose hooking your baits like this is always a lot better because it allows for more action for that bait when you're kind of jiggling it around in the water. Okay? It looks more live. All right, the second way, as I said earlier, that you can hook these or set these up is a Texas rig style. And you'll just tie your hook the same way. Run it through the eye. Run it through the eye, just like that. Then run it back through, making your loop. Making your loop. See that loop? Okay. And this is where you can, like I said, you can make your tag ends as long as you want to. Usually you just pull that when you're making that loop. Okay. And when you got your loop there, like I said, You tie overhand knot in your line, if I can hang on to it. Gotta make my loop a little bigger. Tie you an overhand knot. Sometimes this is easier said than done. Takes a little practice and patience. Alright. Then you put your hook back through that loop, just like that. Wet it. And you'll pull it down. You gotta pull both lines. Cinch it down. Okay. Main line. Separate these out. You run your tag line back through the eye, like so, and then there again it kind of lets that hook stand out to the side. It's not perfect, but it is effective. And of course, in the water, this will work and look a lot different than it will be out here. Then, like I said, you put your weight on. Then you can Texas rig this. And of course, like I said, you can use any style of bait, Texas rigging this. You can use a worm, just like you always do, worms, flukes, whatever, crawl. I've Texas rigged crawls and drop shotted them before. Run it up. Now for this, I probably should have used a little bigger hook using this fluke. This is your standard fluke. So I probably could have used a 2-aught hook instead. But that's it. Hey, buddy, what are you doing? You gonna come help Daddy with the video? You wanna come say hi?
What are you doing out here?
I'm making a YouTube video. You wanna say hi? Come say hi.
How to get my flip-flops on for a minute?
No, come here. Come say hi. Come on. Come say hi. Here, can you turn that off? Can you turn this off? Can you say hi?
Hi.
Can you say hi, YouTube?
Hi.
But anyway, guys, that's how you rig these up. Like I said, when you use a fluke that size, it's probably best to use a 2-aught hook, or use the Fluke Juniors and then the 1-aught hook will work. What are you doing with my glasses? Say bye, YouTube.
Bye.
So until next time, keep casting.
Yeah.